holy creation of God. Holy, being whole, being free of all false identities and the false images that have been made in the name of fear. Holy, truly meaning whole, perfect, and accepting that everything is perfect, that nothing is out of place, that everything that reveals itself is either there for learning or for blessing. Nothing else has a purpose or identity that is reality. The world that has been made in the name of fear has opposites that are in battle with each other within most of the time. And those are to be brought to the light, to be seen for what they are. They are objects of torture. They are objects that have been self-made to cause pain, to cause doubt, and to cause the belief and the feeling of separation. The relinquishment of the false separation is when you begin to truly open to the holiness that you truly are, rejecting what has been self-made and accepting what has been promised and held as the truth of love. No one is exempt from the holiness. No one has to earn holiness. It is waiting to be recognized under the veil of the belief of separation and all that that holds with it in its identity. But every beloved is called to the holiness that is waiting within. The holiness is not another identity that you put on. It is reality through and through. It is the light of God made manifest in its divine perfection. In this moment, the call is to return to love, as it has been ever since the first mind split and said, I'm going to be separate. Now it's the calling to return home, to reality, to step out of the nightmare into the holiness, into peace, into harmony, trusting beyond the world that you've made, trusting beyond the mind that's split away from love, trusting the truth of God that will always lead you to what is most helpful to find your holiness. Holiness. Your happiness will celebrate when you see nothing but holiness and you accept that everything is holy, everything that is real is holy and eternal and one with you. In this moment, accepting that only love exists, that only love is real, the pure, unconditional love of the heart that pours through the universe in oneness, open to that love. It's who and what you are. And in this moment, accepting that each beloved is that holiness. See nothing else. Meet nothing else. Embrace only that holiness. And see nothing else. See with the heart that accepts that every beloved is the holiness of God. In this moment, as we allow this hymn to stir the heart and soothe the mind into remembering all that you are. All I am, all I am, all I am is given to me. My mother gives to me, my father gives to me. All I am set free. I can forgive, I am forgiven. My mother gives to me, my father gives to me. I'm here to receive, I'm here to be forgiven. I will receive, I am forgiven. All I am, all I am, all I am is given to me. I'm here to receive, all I am, here to be given. All I am. The game that the ego plays tries to convince constantly that everything that you are, you make up in your own mind, and that your thoughts are incredibly impressive because they're what you made. And in the spiritual journey of love to return to holiness, it's the realization that all those thoughts are a sham, that any thought that does not come from the divine only serves itself, only serves fear, and only serves untruth. So it is the great calling to ask for the truth which you are one with to be in your heart and mind. Allow your prayer to be, I don't want anything else in my mind. I don't want my mind to be the slave of fear any longer. And I don't want my heart to be protected through fear. I want to be open and in the holiness of love, and let all inspiration come from that holiness, because that's what you are. And that's what is ready to be healed. I'm not singing this hymn. I'm going to just say the words. But the power of this hymn will still vibrate through because of the intention of the offering. Fever of love. The fever of love, here I want to consecrate. With all the beings of love, I must learn to love. Within the fever of love, we must consecrate and realize that we are here to give worth to each other, forever loving every beloved, seeing only the holiness in each one. Let's all go to unite in this energy of love with all divine beings, focused in the heart and in our minds with truth and love. Arriving at the heart, we remember who we are. Humility and forgiveness are the doorway to truth. Everything is a fine study, a learning within this world to remember the truth of oneness. We simply pay attention and refuse to get caught in the personal identity. As we extend our hands and our hearts, my mother, my father, please help me in this journey to remember to be a child of yours, of love and perfection. Turn, 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 and you will find with the Blessed Mother forever you remain. Oh, my Queen Mother, I ask you for this blessing to remember the love in my heart as I walk on this earth, never to fall down in the light of the true vision of love. Please give me the path that I must walk. I ask all divine beings to help me in this mission of love, to convey the love of the divine, the Christ energy, and the Blessed Mother, conveying that love to each beloved. I feel joy, I feel joy, I feel joy in my heart. Oh, my Father, I thank you for giving me your hand. As you give me your hand, you take me out of the perceived darkness. And here I give to you my life and my heart for the peace and the joy that you have completely created me in. I surrender to you to fulfill my mission. You are the one who holds me in this world that I have made of illusion. You support me and you show me the way. You comfort me and show me the way for me to be able to walk with humility and firmness and remember that I must love all beloveds. This is a time for union and a time for concentration, a time of purification, and to learn of the truth of the heart. Oh, my Divine Mother, you are always with me in every moment as I walk through this world, ready to come home to union, to the union of love. The fever of love. The fever of love is when you surrender and you allow that the divine power of God, as you say yes, will transform what's in the way. Through the fever of love many times, because the fever of love sometimes even manifests itself within the form of sickness of the body, the perceived sickness of the body, but it's really burning away the aspects of false identity and letting that fever burn through whatever it needs to burn through, and having the trust and peace to invite that burning away, to invite that cleansing, and to be grateful and happy that you are being blessed with this fever of love. Everything can be used for love, everything in the world. And this is where the healing really becomes powerful and deep, because there is a relinquishment of trying to control it and allowing and wanting to see it all through the blessings that are always present when you've said, help me. When you've prayed, I give you my heart, I give you my mind, take everything that is made up and leave only what is reality. And love will hear that prayer and answer that prayer. Don't be afraid of that prayer. It's the one that takes you home. It's the one that is the deeper reality. The place where you are right now, this place where you are right now, God circled on a map for you. Wherever your eyes and arms and heart can move against the earth and the sky, the Beloved has bowed there. The Beloved has bowed there knowing you were coming, always aware of every Beloved's journey. I could tell you a priceless secret about your real worth, dear pilgrim, but any unkindness to yourself, any confusion about others, will keep one from accepting the grace. It will not be available to you because unkindness is in the way, judgment is in the way, reaction is in the way coming from judgment, opinions are in the way. And that world that is with opinions and unkindness and judgment is not the world of love. It is the self-made world that is totally mistaken. And it's the call for really releasing the love, the sublime freedom, divine knowledge always offers to you. Everything is always being offered. Everything of love is always being offered. It's just getting out of the way, letting everything get out of the way that's in the way, and the willingness for that to be healed. Never mind about the great requirements this path demands of its wayfarers. For your soul is too full of wine tonight to withhold the wondrous truth from this world. But because I am so clever and generous, I have already clearly woven a resplendent lock of his tresses as a remarkable gift in this verse for you. This place where you are right now, God circled on a map. And wherever, dear, you can move against this earth and sky, the Beloved has bowed there, knowing, completely aware that you are coming. When you enter into this window of truth, that God has marked this place and knew that you were coming, the power of the universe is to be contemplated in such a way, because that means that the divine is so closely intimate with each aspect of its creation that the light of God is aware where 300 billion people are. 300 billion souls, spirits are there, and you circle the map for each one of them. There is nothing beyond the capacity of God to completely hold you as the light and the holiness of his creation, her creation, at the same time holding it for everything. And all that in healing, all that Spirit asks of each beloved is to be willing to release judgment, to release opinions, and to recognize and accept that you are the holiness of God, that you are perfect and whole and complete, but as everyone is. Everyone is that. I can imagine Hafiz writing a poem about holding up a mirror, carrying a mirror around so that he can see his reflection constantly being in someone else, seeing himself through every one that the mirror reflects. Because everyone is you. To accept that is to accept that there is only one. And that is the truth. You're one with God. You are one with all creation. You are one. We are one. The body that says we are separate is a made-up fantasy to prove separation, but it doesn't. Because the heart and the mind are one. And the body passes away. It never was you, but your spirit and mind and heart. It's all one. No other. I felt called in this teaching to look at good and bad because it is so cherished. Good and bad are on the secret altar of the world. From the moment of incarnation, everybody's rule book is busy making agreements of good and bad, deciding what is bad and what is good. Now, different cultures have different goods and bads. So it's certainly not set in stone. So in the North American culture, it's rude to burp. It's rude to pass gas. You go to some cultures in the East, and to burp is to pay homage to those who prepared the meal. Everything is made up according to an idea of what is good or bad. To see a woman's face in some cultures is bad. They're covered up. It's meant to be something of a fearful place. Every idea within this world is totally fabricated, and everyone fights for their rules. Throwing all the rules away and only having the laws of God would be an opening to reality. But let's begin with good and bad. How were all the decisions of what is good and what is bad? How did they manifest themselves? Someone had an opinion. Probably many had opinions, and decided to make the world split into good and bad. When you enter the spiritual journey, one of the first elements that is called to be healed is the duality of good and bad, right and wrong, light and dark, more and less. But good and bad kind of covers most of them. Likes and dislikes, all connected with good and bad. This is the insanity that's your rules. So in those rules, spiritually, the reason that you're called to let go of the good and the bad, first and foremost, is because it's so distorted that you can't accept the healing power of transformation because of your attachment to good and bad of what you've already made it to be. When I read the words of The Fever of Love, it has a deep power within it. The fever of love is an aspect of healing energy that comes from the divine that actually many times manifests itself with fever of the body and symptoms that you would recognize as a cold or a problem that you're having some kind of inner infection or something like that. In the spiritual journey, the fever of love gets used to burn through the aspects of thought and energy that are held in the body. And that burning away is the blessing. It's a healing. It's the gift. But if your identity of good and bad is totally within the world of the past, and you are determined that there is good and bad, and sickness is bad, you're not even giving it the opportunity of seeing what it might truly be. You're not open to the possibility that something within this world is being used for transformation. And it isn't good or bad. But if you see it as bad and you don't like how it feels, then it's rejecting it. It's pushing it away. It's fear that runs that aspect. When in truth, it isn't good or bad. It's either a healing or it is a physical manifestation of something. But either way, it's a learning. But it is not good or bad. It's just what is there to be learned from and to be used for healing. I can't tell you how many times I had a headache, or I had cold symptoms or allergy symptoms or tiredness, whatever it was. The encouragement in the spiritual journey was to use it as a healing, that it had to be coming from the divine in some way, or you surrender it to the divine to be used for healing and cleansing. And that you're willing to let anything go because it's not good or bad. You just give it to God. And you accept the healing. The healing is there for you. But if you're judging how healing comes, then it's a restriction that says, no, I'm in control of this, and I'm deciding how healing should look. All the rules happen to also apply to the body. And that's where the healing so many times uses, because it's cleansing all the energy bodies. If you have a temperature, a fever, is it automatic that this is something that is bad? Would you even consider it that this is holy, that this is sent by God? Or are you willing at least to ask, is this a healing that I am receiving? Because I don't know. The reason almost every spiritual path, except for the standard ones maybe that are used many times by the ego, but so many spiritual paths are first about, what do you think you know about good and bad? You've made it up as a protection for yourself and to believe that you know what's good in the world, which includes how you look, how you act, how you think of others, what you consider to be worthwhile, what you consider to be a waste of time, what you invest in, what you shy away from, what you reject, what you condemn, what you give credence to. And the insanity of it is that it's not the same for anyone. And in that comes constant conflict. You have a way that you have made that you believe is good. Let's say it's how you vacuum. You vacuum a certain way. You decided this was the best way. For whatever reason, you decided how to vacuum. And if you're vacuuming, you always follow that rule. You vacuum how you believe is the good way to vacuum. If someone else is vacuuming, just really feel this, because when they're not doing it the way that you have decided is the right way, the good way, you start getting irritated. You start getting kind of upset because it's being done, but it's not being done right. It's being done bad. It's not good. It's bad. And this is a decision that was made maybe in another lifetime, but you've carried it, and it touches everything. And it means something about the order of your life you believe. But the order of your life is God's. The order of the universe is God's. There is a beautiful, could be a bumper sticker, probably is a bumper sticker, that says, do you really think that God is not capable of running your life? He runs the entire universe, but he can't run your life because you know how things should be done. This is such a deep healing place, because it has to come to a place of freedom. Good and bad do not exist. It's made up. And in that good and bad, you've made yourself imprisoned. You're in a prison that was made by your belief of good and bad. It touches absolutely everything. You can't find anything that it doesn't touch. And it doesn't matter what it is. I was asked the other day, did I read a lot? No. So is that good? Is that bad? It means nothing. Does someone read a lot? Is that good or is that bad? It means nothing. What are they learning? What is the learning in the reading or the not reading? It's not good or bad. Everything is in divine equality, in God's perfection. The form of everything doesn't matter. It will fall away. How many beloveds are drawn to a certain style of furniture that they like, and they find it to be good, and other ones are found to be not good because they don't like it? What does that mean when you've made it up? And it's not about receiving the gift of love through a piece of furniture from God. It's the belief that one is better than the other, one has more value than the other, and all of it means nothing. When you are creating a space and you're putting this space together with furniture, what is it for? Is it to impress somebody? Is it to show that you have good taste, in your opinion? Is it to prove that you have nice things? Is it to prove that you are successful? And will it prove that you're unsuccessful if it isn't up to what you think is good and someone else may think so too, or think that it's bad? It's all made up. The only place of putting a room together is, how will it serve love? How will it convey love? Will they see and experience love within everything that is there for the sake of love? Is any of it personal? Is it to prove anything? If it is, then you've made something good and something bad, and it means absolutely nothing. Let's look at the body for a moment. Good and bad bodies. The idea that there are good bodies and bad bodies, and the idea that those mean something at all, or that you are an old body or a young body. Is there a difference? Absolutely not. It's made up. It's based on time, and time is an illusion. That is made up. It means absolutely nothing. If you have a beloved who is disfigured, who was born with a disfigurement, what does that mean? Is it good? Is it bad? And you wouldn't say, no, you're not going to say it's bad, because that would be rude, which would be bad. So you look at this disfigured body and you secretly pity. So it's bad because it's pity. You don't see the same spirit. And you don't see that this is an opportunity of learning the truth of love. You see it as good or bad, because the world has agreed that a disfigured body is bad. You have no idea what that beloved is here for on this earth plane to teach who. They were there to teach you because that's who and what you met. Everything is for learning. If you walk into that relationship with this disfigured spirit within this disfigured body, and you walk into that relationship with your idea of what it means, you will not have the opportunity of learning what that beloved was sent for. And you won't have the opportunity of learning because you believe you already know. That is bad. That was a mistake. Well, everybody was a mistake, a belief in separation, and there are no good or bad bodies or beloveds. So what is there to judge? And who is it that you judge? Do you judge them for their appearance? Do you judge them for their personality? Do you judge them because they don't vacuum in the right way? Do you judge them because they may not like you? And so you judge to make sure that you're covered? Because if they don't like you, that would be bad. Instead, you could see that if they don't like you, what is there to learn there? Because that's all it's for. It's been offered to you because there's a learning. You believe that if someone doesn't like you, that it's bad. It means nothing. It's made up. All of the addictions of the idols are running overtime. Good and bad are on the altar, and you lay your gifts of everything you know onto that altar and believe in it and worship it and fear it and believe that you are right in what you believe of good and bad. But all it's doing is holding you hostage, holding everybody hostage. What part of your reactions, how do you judge your reactions? So here comes the good and bad upside down even further. Somebody has a reaction of upset, and the immediate reaction is, this is right. This is a good reaction. This is protecting me. I'm reacting because I believe I need protection and something is threatening me. So good and bad is now used as a weapon to believe that someone can change you, hurt you, when you are the perfect holy light of God. And there is no good and bad, and there is no like or dislike. It's all made up. But you're worshiping it because the good and bad runs your everyday life. If it's cold outside and you don't have a sweater, you think that's bad. And you identify with it. You get irritated, you get upset, you get scared, but it's all because you believe that the cold is bad when you don't have a sweater. You have a temperature that you have decided is optimum. And in that optimum temperature, which is made up and is not good or bad, you have decided that that is the temperature that you have accepted as right, good. If it goes up, if it goes down, it starts wavering against an upset, against an irritation, against a disappointment, against resentment, or against being unfairly treated by the world by the temperature. This is the depth of good and bad. Believing that all this is controlled and that somehow it makes your life what it is, but it makes it chaos. It makes it fearful. It makes it separate, and it makes it defended against anything, whether it's good or bad. When something is good in your mind, then it has to produce and it has to pay off. If it's good, then it has to pay off for you. That's the narcissism of the ego. It's for me. I need to be satisfied. Who is the I that needs to be satisfied with good or bad? And making that decision. In every ancient spiritual path, the realization of good and bad was very well not only documented but practiced. The farmer who is farming in China, his neighbor comes up and says, the Chinese army is coming and they're looking for recruits and they're probably going to come and get your son. And the Chinese farmer says, and the neighbor says, that's really bad. You better be careful. They're going to take your son. And the Chinese farmer says, it's neither good nor bad. It means nothing. And his son is there and he's riding a horse and he falls off the horse and he breaks his leg. And the neighbor says, oh, this is terrible. Your son broke his leg. That's really bad. He broke his leg. And the farmer says, it's neither good nor bad. It has no meaning. It just is. It's a learning. And the Chinese army shows up and they can't recruit his son because he has a broken leg. And the next door neighbor says, oh, that's really wonderful. You saved your son because of his broken leg. He can't be joined in the army. And the farmer again says, it's neither good nor bad. It has no meaning in that way. It's a learning. It just is. What can I learn from it? And it goes on and on and on. And this neighbor, everything is good and bad. Everything that comes into his life is decided. And this is his world that he made out of all of his beliefs. And love is calling every beloved to open to the honesty of oneness, the honesty to look at what has been made in the name of separation, in good and bad, to torture yourself and everyone, because that's what it's for. It's to cause unhappiness, it's to cause fear, so that you stay imprisoned with the ego identity that has decided what everything is as good and bad. And until you're willing for the power of God to cleanse all of the ideas of good and bad, because they're keeping you from learning. They're keeping you from accepting what is here to be learned from. As soon as the good or bad takes over and wraps itself around something, you can't learn anything. You've decided already what it's for. If it's bad, it's to be rejected. If it's good, it's to be heralded and probably that you thought of it or whatever. But it's a game that the ego plays all the time, every day, every moment. What can you learn from someone who's vacuuming differently than you vacuum? Can you learn? No, you can't learn if you're right. You can't learn if you are irritated because they're not doing it the way that you believe it should be done. Every little thing that everybody does is based on good and bad. How you brush your teeth, how you wash your face, how often you shower, whether it's personal hygiene, washing clothes, how you wash your clothes, how your habits are with that. This is good, this is bad. How somebody, how you work with someone on a job, good or bad. You believe in their personality. You believe that if they don't do things a certain way, they're messing up. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's all made up, and it keeps everyone from learning and from being in the center of love for that learning. There's nothing that can't be healed, but it has to be recognized for what it is. When I was walking in the journey of remembering, it was one of the greatest lessons to learn that there was no good and bad, and that everything was there for my healing. Everything. Every situation, every moment, every relationship, everything was for my healing, was for learning how to learn patience, trust, surrender, non-judgment, kindness, truthfulness, gentleness, open-mindedness. All of that has no good or bad in it. All of it is the way of love. In the not knowing, it's accepting the fever of love for transformation, willing to, if the calling is to walk on fire, to learn and walk on fire and not judge it. If the teaching is that the temperature drops 20 degrees and you're right away saying, I have to have a sweater, to actually ask if it's helpful to learn from being in that weather without a sweater, and to learn that you are not a victim of the body, and that this does not have to be painful. To embrace it in whatever way is called to be embraced. If the divine calls you to jump in a lake that is frozen over to learn, will you go? Will you jump into that water to learn what it is that you've believed before and that you're afraid of letting go? And you jump. If your legs are tired, and instead of saying, oh, my legs are tired, I don't like this, asking what I can learn from it. What is my opinion? What is my reaction? And how does, when my leg hurts, say, I need to be in a bad mood because my leg hurts, or I need to be upset, or I need to focus on it instead of giving it to God and saying, I don't know what this is for. Show me what the teaching is here. I'm willing to learn. Putting your faith in the divine, because that's what it's all about. And as you put your faith in the divine, not only is that part of your learning, but you learn to have faith, which is so essential. Not faith in yourself, not faith in your rules, not faith in how you see things, but faith in the divine, in the power of God, and the willingness to follow in that faith. When you speak to someone in the world and they speak to you, do you have rules of how and what gets spoken? Do you have rules of how to approach someone and what to say and what to do and how to communicate? Or can you wait and listen to the divine to help you find the true way of inner communication. It came to me today that it's such a wonderful question when it's very well known. What would Jesus do? So that's a well-known way of finding truth. What would Gandhi say? Is a little bit easier because it's someone that can be remembered as being in a body. If you were in the presence of Gandhi, and I'm only saying this because if you were in the presence of Gandhi, you would probably already have the opinion, possibly, that it is a good place to be because this is a holy person. Now, that beloved is a representation for you to see the holiness in everyone. But because you have agreed that this beloved is holy, how would you speak to them? Would you talk to them like you talk to everybody? Or would you wait for holy words to convey so that you can meet him in a place where you think he might like to be met? Or that you respect him, but you don't respect anybody else to speak that way. So you meet him and you wait for his cue of what he's wanting to offer. Do you do that with everybody? Or is it just Gandhi? That you would wait for the holy man to speak, but with everyone else you would say everything that you wanted to say and forget that they are the holy beloved also. Do you wait for their wisdom? Are you willing to see their wisdom and not hold them as good or bad? Not holding Gandhi as good and someone else as bad. He's not a holy man, so I don't need to talk to him in a holy way. But that's all the learning, is how to really communicate love, not your litany of, this is how I talk to everybody, these are my social graces, this is because this is what I was taught, this is good, I talk like this. Let it all unravel. Let your speech patterns and your rules about how you speak to someone and what questions you ask them and what's polite and what's not. Speak to the holiness in each beloved. What would that look like? Can you hold someone's hand and truly cherish that you're holding their hand because they are the holiness of God? Or are you proper in your social skills? It's all made up. And it's waiting for the truth and wanting the light of God to move through you without anything being good or bad. I never did this, but it would be a wonderful awareness. I believe that I worked with it without ever writing anything down. To spend the day making a list of all the opinions that you have and writing things in columns of good or bad and believing that these are real. And at the end of the day, looking at your imprisonment of good and bad. It's all made up. You suffer whether you think it's good or you think it's bad. The suffering is more acute maybe and more long-term in the what you consider to be bad. But even what you consider to be good, if it's in the world and it's form and you've made it up, it's at some point it's going to betray you because it's made up. And you won't be available to the gift of learning that is in every moment without the good and the bad. Just the learning. That's really what is the gift, the true gift. So in unraveling time, which is another good or bad, it's an essential element of healing. The time gets unraveled because time is in the world, good or bad, and it changes sides all the time. If you think you're late for work, it's bad. If you think you're early, it's good. It's all made up. Time is made up. So at some point in healing, time begins to be unraveled because it's an addiction that everyone has. The belief in age, the belief in it's 5 o'clock in the morning, it's too early, that's bad, I'm going to be tired. It's all made up. And it's all about protecting the body and believing that it's bad for the body, good for the body. But as God unravels, as the Holy Spirit unravels your relationship with time, the more that you can surrender to it and accept the learning that's in it and observe how God is healing and how magnificent it is that it's being unraveled. And to not be afraid of God's transformation, everything gets stripped away. Everything up, down, right, left, more, less, it's all made up. Does it get used in the world as far as you're cooking something and you have too much milk in the mix, so you take out some milk? But it's not an attachment of being right or wrong. It's not good or bad. You don't attach anything to it. And if you can't take the milk out, well, isn't that interesting? I guess there's a lesson here of keeping the milk in and seeing what happens with it. I don't know. But the good and the bad would say, oh no, this is not according to this this menu, this way of making something. I have to do it a certain way, or else I failed. That's all made up. It's seeing where it goes. Where does God want you? What is God trying to teach you in this moment? Whatever it is, it's the opportunity of learning and the relinquishment of the good and the bad, which is so essential. Make a list for one day of everyone that you consider to be not good. Every idea of what keeps them from being perfect. When they are holy, they are the light of God, and they're not a body. The body is the sham. The body is the idol that is the major idol of the ego, because it's temporary and you fight with it every day. You fight with the body because it's good or bad, depending on what you believe is occurring. Turn it all over. You don't have to be, and you cannot be, in the truth of love. You can't be the slave of the body and its temperaments that are coming from the mind. Find the kindness within your heart that realizes that this is torture and that it's not the truth of you, and that you do not have to be that slave to the good or bad of the body identity. To realize that everything is perfect and available for learning. And then it disappears. You don't have to hold on to anything. You just learn from whatever it is. Let's say you go to work and you work in a building and you get there and the door is locked. And right away, see, one beloved's right away answer would be, now I'm fearful. Oh no, what's going to happen to me? I'm in fear. And the other one is pissed off because the door is locked. It's the same reaction. It's the same reaction that it's bad. And it's a personal expression that's being used, but it all means the same thing. It means I don't like it. It's not right. But in actuality, the locked door is a place of learning. That you're not the slave of any job or any situation has no reason to throw you into upset. It means nothing in and of itself. And what are you learning from it? Are you learning to be irritated at whoever locked the door? Well, that's a good place of hatred. Are you learning to be fearful because somebody's going to be mad at you? Well, that's narcissistic. Everything has a component of the ego involved with it, good or bad. It's always going to bring you to pain, one way or the other. But you are whole and complete and not at the mercy of your own mind. You may think that you are at the mercy of it, but your authority is God. And when you turn away from the mind and all that you've made of it, you turn to your divine authority. And all the divine beings that are there to serve you are there to remind you and to show you the truth that there is no good or bad, there is just love. That one divine being, one guide is no better than another guide, that they all have something that they're there to offer you that is of love, and you don't judge it, you just keep accepting it. You just keep opening your heart to all the love of the divine spirit, because that's where the relinquishment of good and bad will take you into the truth of love for the first time and then for every time. Simply do this: be still and lay aside all thoughts of what you are and what God is. Empty yourself of all concepts that you have learned about the world, all images you hold about yourself. That's a whole lot of images, because it touches everything. Empty your mind of everything it thinks is either good or bad, true or false. Empty. This is from the divine. Of every thought it judges worthy, and all the ideas of which it is ashamed. A full-time job. Hold on to nothing. Do not bring with you one thought the past has taught, nor one belief. Empty your heart and your mind. Every thought, every belief you have ever learned before from anything. Forget this world and its identity, and come with wholly empty hands and a heart unto God. Allow the altar of good and bad and right and wrong to be demolished, and raise instead your altar to love. That is your teacher, that is your guide. The truth of love will guide you in every moment if you choose to be in that divine guidance, because God knows exactly what is most helpful for you, and accepting that everything is an opportunity of learning and healing in every moment. You're never without the healing power of God. Never. God is, the intention of the universe is for you to remember and come home. And you come home without your ideas of good and bad or right and wrong, and because they don't mean anything. You can be free to love, free to accept the truth of love itself. Holy child of God. No right, no wrong, no good, no bad. Opening to the divine. teach me to love. Teach me the truth of every moment. Teach me to learn. Teach me.